Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from ESPN, covers the Steelers, and you'll catch her on Get Up tomorrow with Mike Greenberg. It's Brooke Pryor. Brooke, what up?
Oh, not too much. Enjoying a beautiful fall day here in Pittsburgh. Again, the sun is shining. It's wild.
I was going to say, that's just another day in North Carolina. What are you talking about? I guess you're not.
Okay.
I'm just saying, not trying to make you homesick. This is another day
Yeah.
here.
Well, it's working, but I don't think it's a coincidence that the sun shines literally every time I come on the show. It's like a reminder, like the sun is reaching me from Raleigh.
See, there we go. There we go. I feel like you're going to be on Get Up tomorrow, and I'm going to watch to see if local North Carolina Brooke comes out when talking about Russell Wilson. Is that going to happen? Are we going to get local Brooke when Russ comes up?
You're gonna get a flashback to I don't remember if it was my freshman year or my sophomore year. I think it was my freshman year because yes, it was, because you know what, I missed what would have been Russell Wilson's last game in Chapel Hill because I had to go back and take a nap in my dorm room. But I remember falling asleep listening to Jones Angel on the call for it. But some of that hometown experience bias, whatever you want to call it, may come out because I have no choice but to go all in when I hear a guy is doing high knees in the aisle of a plane for 4 hours.
This isn't new to anybody who was around here when Russell Wilson was the quarterback at NC State. That's the wild part. Like, we're all back here, and Giglio and I have been cracking up because we did an entire podcast about this, Never Failed, the Russell Wilson story, that kind of poked at the self-myth that was created by Russ. And I don't know about you, but Giglio and I are trying to rack our brains about how something can fall apart for somebody's kind of standing, how they're viewed in the league. Like, the knives are out for Russ, and people clown everything that he does. And I don't know if he's self-aware enough to know.
I do think that people close to him have been aware, or at least they're close to the situation, have been aware that this is who he is for a long time. But he was, I think, insulated in a lot of ways in Seattle when they were winning. I mean, it's hard to be in a locker room that complains and takes shots at the quarterback when they're winning. But when things start to fall apart, it's a lot easier to highlight someone's faults. And the things that you might have made excuses for, like, oh, that's just his quirk, become like just nagging and frustrating. And it's like a bug bite that you just start itching because you're just so annoyed and frustrated with it. And so I think when he got traded to Denver, I think it was another situation where maybe people would have overlooked some of this corniness stuff if they were winning, but they're not. And when it seems like one of the reasons that they're not winning is Russell Wilson, I mean, it kind of starts with him and just the way that he is not playing well. He does not seem to be well received in the locker room. Now I'm being chased by a bee. So I think that Russell has now sent a bee
He's
from
manifested.
London.
He's manifested it.
Listen, I mean, maybe it's Sierra. Maybe she has powers.
No. Sierra's not Giselle. Sierra does. Are you sure? Are you sure that the Sierra's going to a metaphysical shop and casting spells to make Tom Brady's life miserable, and we could continue to see that tonight? I'm just saying.
Could be. But look, I think that with Russell Wilson, I feel like we have all had this idea that this is who he is for a long time, right? And now I think that he is self-unaware, because if he was aware, he would know that the high knees story up and down a plane for 4 hours while your teammates are trying to sleep is not endearing. It is deluded, and it's borderline just psychopathic. Who does that on a transatlantic flight? And how much force was he using with those high knees? Was it just like a walking high knee, or was he jumping? Because that feels like a safety issue. Maybe the pilot should have put on the fasten seatbelt sign. I don't know. No, I have never once had the urge to let me high knees up and down a plane. Like, at most, I'll go to the bathroom again, just stretch my legs.
Yeah. Now, a team charter is a little bit different than a normal commercial flight, but even still, can you imagine if they hit a little bit of turbulence while he's trying to do a high knee and he stumbles into a teammate's chair while they're trying to sleep? Like, how's that going to go?
Also, sometimes there's extreme turbulence and, like, the plane drops.
Yeah.
We could have hit his head. Can you imagine if he ended up on the injury report? Like, how do you classify that? Injured while doing high knees in a flight. Like, there could not have been one person that saw him doing that and was like, yeah, this is a great idea. This is a great idea.
Yeah.
This is the sign of a real leader. Like, no, it's a sign of somebody that's making it all about himself again.
I feel like this is the theme of the week too, because and Brooke Pryor, ESPN, joining us, covers the Steelers. You can catch her on Get Up tomorrow and with Max Kellerman on ESPN. This just in with Max Kellerman. I'm also curious, like, okay, how do teammates respond to the way Russell Wilson's talking about these stories? And how do teammates respond to Aaron Rodgers going on the Pat McAfee show on his normal Tuesday spot, talking about cracking the whip and not being nice? And I'm like, I got to imagine that that's not flying in the locker room these days.
And I've gone back and forth on Aaron Rodgers and what he's saying, because I get the sense that he is not saying anything that's new to these guys, that they're not hearing him say this for the first time on the Pat McAfee show. I do think that his delivery could have been better, because it sounded a little bit like Russ in the Subway commercials, like a little bit serial killery, and it was disconcerting. And it came off like, I am not the problem here. You are the problem here. And so that's where I have an issue with it. Like, I think it's okay to call out your teammates and to use your public appearances to send a message. I mean, I know guys in the Steelers locker room do that all the time. I mean, guys across in all different leagues do that. You know, you have a platform, you use it, and you use it in different ways. But I think, to me, it is going to be received not as well, because he didn't also say, and here are some of the things that I could be doing better. Like, you're not infallible here. Like, when you're saying that if you're not playing well, you should be benched. Well, are there instances when Jordan Love should come in the game? Because you're not, like, playing a perfect game. No, your receivers aren't helping you, and the O-line isn't great either. But Aaron, you're not making flawless decisions here, and your throws are not perfect every time. So I think that there needs to be a little bit of, maybe not a full-on mea culpa, but let's just own your actions while you're also calling others out.
No, I'm with you on that, but that follows a long history of Aaron Rodgers always pointing out somebody else's failings, whether it's the front office for not getting him the right wide receivers, or even with Devontae Adams going off to Las Vegas. I'm paraphrasing here, but he never felt the need to call Devontae. They're like, hey man, I want you here. Let's go win something. Like,
right.
Is that leadership? Meanwhile, Tom Brady, you say what you want about this season, he'll rally guys. Like, hey, let's go in. Let's do this. Let's call my guys up. And people want to play with Tom Brady. You don't really get that sense with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
Right. Although, you know what? I think that Tom Brady is kind of dealing with a version of what Aaron Rodgers is dealing with, because his in a way what Russell Wilson is dealing with. I think that there's a common theme here with older quarterbacks that are not bought in or is genuine, or there is something missing that this younger generation of players is seeing through. Brady's leadership methods, while if he was still being the leader that he verbally is and says he is, he was showing up and following through on all the things he was doing earlier in his career, maybe we're having a different conversation. Maybe the Bucs season is going better. But I feel like these teammates are saying, hey, like, you need to be the best version of yourself for me to play for you and for me to buy into what you're selling me. Because right now there's a lot of point the fingers at everyone else, and there's not a lot of personal responsibility that's happening.
Brooke Pryor, ESPN, covers the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can catch her on Get Up tomorrow with Mike Greenberg. Also, this just in with Max Kellerman, where you get your own segment. You got your
I do.
Yes, was
Brooke
it? Brooke it. Yes, it's Brooke it. You love to see it. All right. I think we've held off long enough now to finally get to the Matt Canada portion of our conversation, right? Giglio would slap me if I didn't at least bring up, like, oh, so now it's at critical mass in Pittsburgh for what I've been trying to tell you since he got there. What? How's this play out? I mean, we're still relatively young into the season. We're not even at the halfway point of the season yet. But I feel like this has hit a critical mass already with Mike Tomlin and this offense that just can't get out of its own way.
It has and it hasn't, because look, I know that there's a new GM here who could do things his own way and could say, you know what, I know that we typically don't fire coordinators mid-season, but I'm going to make a statement. We're doing it my way now. That is a possibility, because we're learning things for the first time about how Omar Khan runs things.
Yeah.
At the same time, Mike Tomlin's message throughout, even just a couple weeks ago, as Matt Canada said today, has been stay the course. We see the foundation here. Like, if we all buy in, it'll get better. But he also said that about Mitch Trubisky. And then halftime of the Jets game put in Kenny Pickett.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like kind of a wild card. My gut is still that they finished the season with Matt Canada. But I think that he is feeling the pressure because, you know what, we just talked to him this morning. And usually Matt is not very enlightening would be a good word. I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it. He's very brief. There's a lot of like, it can feel like he talks down to us sometimes, that he doesn't want to take the time to explain stuff, right? It's very short and very curt.
Sure.
Talking with him today, it felt like he was a traveling preacher at a tent revival. Like, he was talking fast. He was very elaborative in his answers. And it's almost like he was trying to convince us as much as himself that he can be saved and that this offense can be saved. Like, it was, I have never seen him like this. And so that's what I thought was interesting to me today, was it felt like he understood, or maybe like the outside pressure was getting to him. He said that like he stays off social media, but he has friends and family that point stuff out to him. So I think that he knows, you know, that we are reaching a critical point in this season. We can only say we're close, we're almost there so many times. I mean, the things he was saying today, he was almost filibustering every answer with like, look, we're going to get better. Here are the problem areas. You know, our run game is better, but we're still not averaging 5 yards a carry. We need to average more than that. Here's where, you know, Kenny's getting better, but he's not there yet. So it felt like he was trying to convince his players, convince anyone that was listening, including himself, that it can get better. And I don't know if that's because he feels like his job's on the line right now, or if he feels like he still has a shot at returning next season. I kind of think that ship has sailed, but it was a departure from how he's previously been.
Brooke Pryor, ESPN, covers the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll close on this. We'll get back to Tom Brady. We got Thursday Night Football. We got the Bucs and the Ravens. Bucs bouncing back. I mean, that's Todd Bowles called losing to the Panthers, this particular Panthers team that just traded Christian McCaffrey to the San Francisco 49ers, a dark day. And I think that's him trying to portray that. No, this was rock bottom. This was rock bottom. But if there's one thing I've learned in this business, you can always hit another one. I'm curious how they bounce back from that embarrassment on Sunday at Bank of America Stadium.
I was going to say, because I thought for sure that was going to be a get-right game. And that was before they traded Christian McCaffrey away. Like, when we talked, they were hours away from shipping Christian McCaffrey to the West Coast, which, by the way, I don't love the move for the 49ers because I feel like it's redundant because they have Deebo Samuel. But now Deebo's hurt. So, hey, good on you 49ers. You know more than me, and that's why I'm not in charge of an NFL team. The
irony is that Deebo's hurt and Christian McCaffrey's not.
Well, you know, that's
give it time.
Wild how it's the inverse on the West Coast. It's the upside down over there.
Good point.
But you know, I was certain. Actually, you know what? I won't say that. I won't go as far as that because I was not 100% certain. I kind of had this thought in the back of my head of like, sometimes there's a weird rebound effect with teams after they fire a coach and start to make significant organizational changes on the way to tearing things out. Like, there can be, you know, a spark that doesn't ignite a forest fire by any means, but, you know, just smokes a little bit, just looks exciting for a second. And so I thought, but still, it's Tom Brady. You don't spark against Tom Brady. Well, this isn't like your dad's Tom Brady. This is like 2022 real world is hitting him hard. It feels like he has some regrets about his decisions. And I mean, I think that he and the other older quarterbacks, Russ is not the same age, but I still feel like this is the changing of the guard. And even though Ben Roethlisberger, I still think held on too long, he is now seeing, I think he's probably happy that he is out of it now because he would also be lumped in this conversation that
easily.
You can't live on your past successes. Like you need to know when to say no. And they are learning when you hold on too long, it gets really bad really fast.
Brooke Pryor, ESPN, covers the Steelers. Catch her on Get Up tomorrow morning, also with Max Kellerman. Safe travels to New York. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks. See ya.